Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining this live event. Today, our solution architect, Sumashri, will go through the capabilities of Dynamics 365 Field Service, a solution which enables you to predict, detect, and resolve customer issues, build customer loyalty, and reduce cost. During this webinar, she will go through an overview of field service, native integration of field service with other D365 CRM modules, integration of field service with Business Central. If you have any questions during the webinar, please do not hesitate to use the question and answer section, and we will answer your questions at the end. I will now hand you over to Sumashri for her insights.
Thanks, Bisola, for the introduction, and welcome everyone to this webinar. This webinar is all about giving you a high-level overview of the powerful capabilities of Dynamics 365 Field Service, how it can help you in your business, and how it can help you to enhance the experience of the field engineers and at the end, your end customers. This is the general agenda of today's webinar. We'll start with a high-level overview of field service. Then we'll move on to the key capabilities and roles of Dynamics 365 Field Service. Followed by that, there will be a brief explanation of the work order lifecycle, how to access your accounts and contacts in your field service, how do you access your work orders, which are basically the jobs which your field engineers will be working on. And then there will be other related topics like service tasks, the checklist that your field engineers will be using while working on a job, how you will be booking the work orders for your field engineers using the schedule board. And then the third topic in our webinar would be the integration of field service with the other Dynamics 365 CRM modules and the integration of field service with Dynamics 365 Business Central. The general overview of field service. Now, which are the businesses which would require field service? If you are in a business where you need your field engineers to go on site to your customer locations to work on jobs in order to either maintain their install bases or the equipments that are installed on site or to do any sort of repair, these are the scenarios under which field services, Dynamics 365 field service comes most handy. Now, throughout the life cycle of the field service, the three main entities who would be interacting with field service on a regular basis would be your operations team, who would be looking after the planned as well as the emergency maintenance and repair services, your technicians, who are the heart of this entire field service application because they are the ones who will get the jobs booked to their names. They will travel on site to the customer locations and complete the necessary jobs. And at the end, it is very important that the jobs that the field engineers are completing, the customers are satisfied with it, and they are able to review the job done, and then they are able to sign off on the job that the technicians are completing. This entire process can be done either by the back office or the operations team using their laptops where they will be accessing the application through their web browsers. The technicians will be able to access all their details on their handheld devices, be it mobiles or tablets. And at the same time, the customers will be able to utilize the features of the mobile or the tablets that the technicians are having to review the changes or the task that the technician has completed. And at the same time, the technician will be able to get a signature from the customer saying that they are satisfied with the service, and then they are finally signing off the jobs. So all these activities are seamlessly done both using your laptops as well as your handheld devices, and the updates that are happening on either side, whether the back office is doing any updates, the technicians are able to see the changes in a real-time basis, and any updates that the technicians are doing on the work orders on site are visible to the operations manager or the service managers in real time. These are the key capabilities and roles of Dynamics 365 Field Service. Work orders, which is kind of the basic building block of Dynamics 365 Field Service. Then there are various scheduling and dispatch tools. There are communication tools through which, on a real-time basis, the technicians can communicate with the service engineers or the other service managers or the back office officials, so that in case they have any kind of queries, or if they have the requirement of raising a requirement for a particular spare part, all these kinds of information they are able to communicate through their mobile app. The next is obviously the easy to use mobile app. Dynamics 365 Field Service has a native mobile app specifically devised for handheld devices. There are certain configurations which will need to be done so that we can decide, or rather the business can decide, what is the information that should be visible to the field engineers when they are on site. Next is the asset management. All the assets that are installed on your customer locations, you can manage all their details in field service so that the technician before they reach the job site, they can get an idea about all the asset details. What are the specifications, at which location is it particularly installed, and what are the information that they need to have before they start working on the job. There are preventive maintenance, which are nothing but the planned maintenance activities. As part of your service agreements with your customers, you can predetermine at what time your jobs can be scheduled depending on the service agreement duration that you have agreed with your customer. Next are the billing capabilities, where a job, if after getting completed, you need to get the price or the cost that should be incurred by the customer for the job repair done. You can do that using Dynamics 365 Field Service. Next is the time tracking. You can do a real-time tracking of how much time the technician has spent on traveling to the customer location, how much time he has spent on doing the actual job. In case it is a day-long job or it is a multi-day job and they had to take breaks in between, you can get a real-time tracking of how much time has been spent on break. So on a real-time basis, sitting at the office, the operations manager will have an update about what the technician is doing when he is at the job location. And at the end, based on all the information that will be updated in the work order or in the bookings by the technicians, you can gather all that information and create powerful and informative dashboards, which will be important for your senior management in your business to get an idea about how your team is performing. This is the general work order lifecycle. A work order can be created either from a case, it can be created automatically from a service agreement, or it can be created from a sales order. Now, this sales order, either you can create it in your Dynamics 365 sales, or you can create your sales order in your ERP applications like Dynamics 365 Business Central. And through integration, these sales orders can come into CRM or Dynamics 365 Field Service as a work order. Once the work order gets created and the people who are responsible for maintaining those work orders update the necessary details in the work order, the next step in the process would be the scheduling of those work orders. Now, scheduling of work orders are easily done through the schedule board, which we'll cover in the later part of the webinar. And using the schedule board, you are basically assigning the work orders to the technicians. Now, while assigning the work orders to the technicians, you can have various criteria. There can be a certain skill set that the technician needs to have in order to complete that job. There can be certain restrictions on the geographical location. If it is like a very urgent emergency work order, you would like a technician who is present nearest to the customer site to be able to reach the site as soon as possible and start working on the repair job. So based on these various criteria, you can determine who is the best person suited for that job, and based on the availability, the scheduling manager can schedule the work orders. Once these are scheduled, next would be the task of the field engineers to get an update on the bookings that have been booked under their name and actually start picking up the work orders based on the priority and start working on those work orders. After they have picked up and they have accepted the booking and they have reached the client location, the next would be the actual service, where it can be a maintenance service, it can be a repair service, a general checkup, depends on the scenario. Once that is done, next would be the approval or the review, which is basically the work of the customers. So the customers, whoever is present at the job site, will review the work that the field engineer has done. And if he is satisfied with the job, then he will provide his sign off directly in the field service mobile app, which will be considered as the completion of the work order, and the field engineer can update the status accordingly. Once that is done, the next would be the invoicing to the customers and the inventory adjustments. In case there has been a requirement for replacement of a spare part, then you would need an inventory adjustment, or else there will be a direct invoice where you will be charging for the spare part, the labor cost, and other related miscellaneous charges. Now, these invoicing inventory adjustment parts can be again taken up in any of the ERP solutions which is integrated with the field service application. In our case, we will be discussing about Dynamics 365 Business Central. Next is, how do you access the accounts and the contacts in field service? Accounts are nothing but the companies for which are basically your customers. So the companies are referred to as accounts in Dynamics 365 field service, and the contacts are the people with whom you are working as part of that customer relationship. Now, since Dynamics 365 field service is also a part of the Dynamics 365 suite of Microsoft, so the data that is available in Dynamics 365 field service also resides in Dataverse. So the accounts and the contacts that perhaps your sales team is maintaining and developing and nurturing, those will be seamlessly accessible by the field service managers and the scheduling managers and the technicians in Dynamics 365 field service. As you can see this account form right now, all the necessary information about that account is present right at the tip of the fingers of the technicians, so that all the necessary information like the location where the company is, the phone number, the name of the company, and all these details are mentioned. They can simply access this record, get the details, and on the next steps. You can also see there are these assets and locations where all the assets that are related to that customer can be maintained, so that the technician has a detailed idea about which asset he needs to maintain or repair and what are the specifications of those assets. Next is again the contacts, and like I mentioned, contacts are the people in the companies who are working in those companies for your customers. And whenever a job is scheduled, it is necessary for the technician to know that once he reaches the customer site, with whom should he contact and who is the person who is going to sign off the job that he is going to complete. So in order to get those details, he can access the contact records and get all the information there. In case after reaching the customer location, he is not able to locate that particular person, he might need to call up that person. So he will get his mobile number. If he is not reachable on mobile, he can send an email to that particular customer. So all that information is readily available to the field engineer on his handheld device, so that he gets the information and works on it accordingly. These are the work orders in field service, which are nothing but the jobs that are created on which the field engineers are going to work. Here, the two important things are the work order types and the incident types. Now, work order types are nothing but the type of jobs that your company is doing, or rather the technicians are doing. It can be a plant maintenance, it can be a repair service, it can be a normal inspection, it can be a commissioning. entirely depends on your business scenario, what the work order type will be. Next is the incident type. Incident type is a more granular version of the work order type, where as part of repair, there can be various tasks that needs to be done. So you can identify those subtypes as incident types so that when you are creating a work order, you have a generic idea about what is the exact job that needs to be done. And as part of that job, what is the more granular or the more specific type of job that the technician is supposed to do. So all these information are maintained at the work order level, and the technician can open the work order and get all those details and get a clear idea about what exactly he needs to do once he reaches the customer side. This, at one hand, also ensures that the customer has a good experience of the repair or the maintenance service, and at the same time, the technician is able to save his time and efforts trying to figure out the correct information at the correct time. Now, as part of any job, there are certain steps that the technician would need to complete in order to ensure that the job is done completely and satisfactorily in terms of the customer. So for that, we have this service task. Now, I had mentioned about work order type and incident type in the previous slide. As part of incident types, there will be n number of service tasks so that the technician can open the service task and can get an idea about what are the exact steps that they need to perform and what is the sequence in which he needs to perform those steps. Now, it entirely depends on your business scenario, where if a particular job has, say, 15 steps, 5 of them can be optional. It entirely depends on the technician, or rather that particular situation, whether those steps can be need to be carried out or not, or else if it is required that there are 10 steps which need to be mandatorily completed, otherwise the job won't be considered as completed. That can also be configured in the system. At the end, it entirely depends on the type of job and the business scenario. Once he completes the task, he will mark the task as complete, and based on the time that he has taken to complete the task, the actual duration will be automatically calculated by the system. Now here you can see this estimated duration and the actual duration. The significance of the estimated duration is based on that the system would get an idea that in order to complete a job, let's say a job, it takes around 2.5 hours. So when that work order is assigned to a particular technician, there is an idea that this technician is going to take 2.5 hours to complete the job. He might take 30 minutes more in order to travel to the customer side, and another 30 minutes to gather the signature from the customer, get the inspection completed. So the total duration of 3.5 hours would be the time when the technician would be occupied and won't be available to work on another job. Now, once the scheduling manager has an idea about the availability of the technician, based on that, he or she can go ahead and plan the next job, which can be scheduled to that particular technician. The significance of it is the technician is not overbooked, and at the same time, if he has capacity available with him, the scheduling manager can assign more jobs so that more number of jobs are completed during his workday. Next are the bookable resources in Dynamics 365 Field Service. Bookable resources are the second most important building blocks of Dynamics 365 Field Service, because bookable resources are nothing but the technicians. In Dynamics 365 Field Service, they are referred to as bookable resources. Now, under bookable resources, you can specify their skill sets, also the level of efficiency in particular skill sets. You can specify the roles that they are playing in the company, and based on these criteria, when the schedule manager is trying to find out the best technician suited for the job, these are the important filtering criteria that can be used so that the right person is assigned to the right job. Now, this is one of the most powerful features of Dynamics 365 Field Service, which is the schedule board. The schedule board gives you an idea about which resource is assigned to which work order and what is the availability of that particular resource. Now, the way in which you schedule work orders in the schedule board is very seamless. Is just a drag and drop functionality where you will be dragging the work order and assigning it to the required resource on the schedule board. And once it is assigned, you can also change the time. For example, you in this screenshot you can see that the work order has been assigned at 8:30 a.m. and it is supposed to go on till 9:30 a.m. Now let's say that particular for some reason the technician is not able to reach the customer site by 8:30 or around 8 a.m. So the schedule manager can reassign this job and reschedule it to a time when the resource can reach the customer site. So that can also be done by simply dragging and dropping the work order in the schedule board. And then there are certain color codes which are predefined in the system. And based on that, just by looking at the schedule board, you will get an idea that this particular technician is currently at the job location, or that particular technician is currently on the way to the customer site, or he is already at the customer site and has started working on it, or else a technician is available, he has a work order assigned to him and he is yet to start working on it. So just by looking at the schedule board, the scheduling manager gets a real-time update about the situation of what each of the technicians in his team are doing. Next, we come on to the third topic of our discussion, which is the native integration of Dynamics 365 Field Service with the other Dynamics 365 CRM modules. Now, as I have mentioned that Dynamics 365 Field Service data also resides on Dataverse. So the data is readily available to the other modules like the Dynamics 365 Sales, Services, and Marketing as well. So in this ensures that the various teams in your business are able to collaborate on a real-time basis and the information is readily available to all the members of your team so that they are able to get hold of the correct information with the least amount of efforts. Apart from that, since Dynamics 365 is field service is a product from Microsoft, it also uniquely integrates with other Microsoft products like Microsoft Teams, where they can collaborate and talk with their peers on a real-time basis. Then Dynamics 365 Remote Assist and Dynamics 365 Guides are very powerful because in case a technician reaches a job site and he or she is not able to resolve the particular task, he or she can reach out to his higher management or his manager or someone from his team so that they can assist him in getting the job completed. Or with the help of guides, he will get a step-by-step guidance on how to complete a particular job. So these kind of integrations are readily available and this ultimately ensures that the technicians are able to complete the job as per the satisfaction of the customers. This is the last topic in our webinar discussion today, which is the integration of Dynamics 365 Field Service with Business Central. Now, Dynamics 365 Business Central is the ERP solution of Microsoft. And since it is also a part of the Dynamics 365 suite, the data resides in Dataverse. Based on your business scenario, the information that you want to be sent from Field Service to Business Central or the information that needs to come into business and into field service from Business Central can be done seamlessly, either by utilizing the powerful features of Power Automate or by using web APIs. So it entirely depends on your business scenario and what information you want to transact between the two applications. And based on that, we can very easily set up an integration between the two systems. This ultimately helps that your work order is able to complete its life cycle, and at the same time, the open jobs that your technicians are supposed to complete are completed right on time, and you get the billing for those jobs correctly and at the right time. This is an overview of the entire Dynamics 365 suite, and as you can see, all of the products of Dynamics 365 suite are interlinked with one another, which ultimately ensures that the teams in your business are able to collaborate properly, they are efficient in their jobs, and they are able to complete their jobs with a higher rate of performance. Thank you all for your time. Now we'll open the floor for questions and we'll take up questions now.
Thanks, Sumasri, for your insights. We have a few questions here. The first one is, can we schedule a multi-day work order?
Yes, by using the feature of schedule board as well as by directly updating the start date and the end date of the booking, we are able to easily schedule a multi-day work order.
Excellent. The second one is, does the solution allow users to collaborate with peers, supervisors, help desk, and back office while still inside the application?
Right. So when they are inside the application, they can raise posts, they can tag their peers, they can put up a note in the work order, or they can utilize the feature of Microsoft Teams to collaborate with their peers or the higher management and get the necessary information that are required. And this will happen in real time.
Fantastic. Another one is, can your solution proactively notify customers of any changes that impact their appointments?
Yes. So we can set up certain configurations where based on the work orders that are scheduled, for example, in case of planned maintenance, we can send out notifications or emails to the customers advising them that a work order is scheduled, a service is scheduled in the coming, say, in the coming week. And then based on their availability, they can give us a confirmation that, okay, they are available, the field technician should reach the location at that particular day and at that particular time.
Okay, excellent. How does the solution maintain data security and privacy?
Okay, so Dynamics 365 Field Service is a cloud-based application. So the data is entirely secure, the data is private, and the responsibility of data security and privacy is taken up by Microsoft. They ensure that they are GDPR compliant, and at the same time, they have an SLA of 99.9% of uptime, where using the different data centers located all over the world, they are able to keep the data secure, and in case of any contingency, they are able to restore the data as well. Apart from that, Dynamics 365 has a very powerful security architecture built up, which ensures that only the right information is available to the people, and the whatever information he or she is not supposed to access, they are not accessible to them. So the security feature is very powerful here.
Fantastic. Another one is, can your mobile resources make changes to their schedule in real time or request time off directly from the mobile solution?
Okay, so scheduling is like, it entirely depends on the business process. We would in what we have seen in our customers are they would like to keep the functionality of scheduling and rescheduling restricted to certain people in their offices whose primary task would be to create the work orders and schedule them. as a process, we wouldn't recommend that the resources themselves are rescheduling their jobs. There should be a primary point of contact for doing that task. And in terms of time offs, they can request time offs. They can define their work hours in the system, and based on that, their availability will be displayed in the schedule board.
Excellent. Another one, I've just got a few more. Can my customers communicate their questions and concerns directly to my team and me in real time and through an online application?
Okay, so we can set up certain features where if they are sending emails to a particular email ID, a case gets automatically created, which again can be easily converted into a work order. Or we have this powerful feature of Power Apps portals where they can log in, they can raise a case, they can submit the whatever complaints or queries they have. And based on that, again, a case gets created in the system, which going ahead gets converted into a work order. So these are the features which are natively available in the system. It's only that there are certain configurations that we would need to actually set up the system so that it starts working properly.
Okay, I've got a couple more. Does your software allow service reps to dictate their online notes and upload them in real time?
Yes. So in the work order, like I have mentioned before, so they can upload their notes, and whatever they are updating is on a real-time basis is reflected back on the application, and whoever is accessing that application at the same time is able to see that changes that the technician is doing.
Okay, the last question is, can my customers communicate their questions and concerns directly to the team? Sorry, that is a duplicated question. Ignore that. So that's the last of the question. If you have any further questions, please, you can put in the chat now, in the question and answers now. If not, if you have any further questions or would like to book a demo, please feel free to contact Mitali, whose details are on the screen now. So that's Mitali, and her details are on the screen. Thank you so much. That is the end of the webinar. Thank you for attending. And if you would like to view some of our previous webinars, please visit our YouTube channel. If you just Google Mercurius IT, or you can access our YouTube channel via our website. Thank you so much for attending. And thank you, Sumasri, for your insight.
Thank you all for your time. Have a good day.